Hey everybody, welcome back. We are working on the 1972 Plymouth Fury. If you're new to the channel, we brought this old girl out of the woods. It's been sitting for a good 10 years and we have been making some pretty good videos trying to get it straightened out. I thought today we'd do a little engine work, kind of spruce it up under the hood, give it the old weird beard treatment as we say. And while we're at it, we're going to throw a few new parts at it, so let's get started. So we got us a brand new water pump. Got that. Let's see, we got some fan belts. And we got the top radiator hose. I had to order the bottom one. They didn't have it in stock. But here we go. Let's get this bad boy on there. Start off by draining out some of this coolant. It's probably mostly just water at this point. Doesn't look like it has very much in it. I think that thing's clogged. Give me a little piece of welding wire. See if we can poke it up in there. There it goes. Got some new hose clamps too, that'll be nice. You guys ever see any of these? These are kind of cool. You just slide it right on the clamp there and you squeeze this trigger over here and look at there. Pulls that right off of there. Kind of got a little bicycle cord, you know, like a brake cable cord off of a bicycle. Works pretty good. I mean, beats the old pair of pliers sometimes. So let's go ahead and get this piece of crap off of here. Oh, we still got fluid. If I remember right, you're gonna loosen this guy right here, because I actually put this belt on so I could have my power steering when we was moving it around. But I think you loosen this one, and then this one here. Good Lord, who tightened these things? Okay, so once this is all loosened up, we should be able to move that power steering pump enough to get the belt off. I do believe. There we go. Yeah, that's all it was, just those two, this bolt and this bolt. So now we can get this out of here. I've got a brand new belt that we can put back on when we're done. So the next thing coming off is the fan. And man, I'll tell you what, they got this stuff on here tight. No, I didn't do the fan. It was already, I ain't messed with it this far. But man, this stuff is on tight. That fan is so close. I mean, you can just barely get the bolts out on that, but we got it. Get this guy out of there. We'll paint all this stuff too before we put it all back together. I think it'll look good. Let's go ahead and get the rest of these hoses off of here. And we'll pull the alternator. We got to get these brackets all out of the way for the power steering, alternator, everything. Then we could get that new one. Well, got to pull it off, then we'll get the new one. Getting ahead of myself. Set that over there out of the way. Got one more hose and then the bottom hose. Let's break out the air tools. I think this is the last one. Let's see. I've got one stubborn bolt trying to fight me here. I tell you what, this radiator is so in the way. I'm contemplating just taking it out. Golly. There we go. Finally, ridiculous. Let's Get the alternator off here first. We'll unplug it. It's got a couple little plugs on it. There we go. Get those out of the way. It's also going to have another wire back here. Can't really get to it right now, so I'll go ahead and pull it loose first. Once I get this undone, I can finally pull this wire. This is the last wire. There's 3 wires on the back of this thing. That was the final one. I'll go ahead and put this back on there so I don't lose it. Okay, so now all that's left is this one. This should come off here. All right. So with the alternator out of the way, we still got this big giant bracket that comes over here, and one of them actually attaches to the water pump, so we got to get that off, and the other one attaches to the engine itself. So we'll pull that off, and that can come out of the way. So there's that. Yeah, we'll clean all this stuff up and spray paint it before we put it back on. Now we're getting ready to make a big mess. Pull this bottom hose off. I think the bottom hose here is probably the worst hose on it. Seems like it's kind of swelled up a little bit, you know? There we go. We got the drain pan down there, so we're catching the majority of it. So with that out of the way, we can get the rest of these bolts out. Looks like somebody stuck a few washers on there. It's probably missing a bracket, probably AC related or something like that, and they had to throw in some spacers there. That's what I'm guessing. Let's see if we can knock this off there. There we go. Well, it came off pretty easy, actually. Kind of like that. Now this thing actually still feels really nice. It's not loose or anything, but it's been sitting for so long that the seal is dried out in it, so it leaks. I don't know if you guys can see this, but golly, now that we got some parts out of the way, we're exposing a lot more of the dirtiness that's going on. I mean, even after all that pressure washing we did on the other video, look at what's left. This is what's down in behind that power steering pump. Oh my God. You guys, I just cannot put this back together like this. There's just no way. I'm going to have to get that pressure washer back out and just get in there and attack I want this whole area all in front of the motor to be nice and clean, and then we're going to go back and paint everything before we put it all back together. Thought we'd try for a cold start. See, give it a couple of pumps. There we go. She fired right up. The carburetor seems to have a bit of a dead spot on it, so we'll have to address something on that. I don't know what's going on there. She doesn't want to idle, so anyway, we'll mess with all that later. For now, let me wash this up. Clean all this grease off these old brackets and stuff before we put all this back together. I usually just start off with a screwdriver, get the thick stuff off. Go from that to a brush. And then the pressure washer ought to take care of the rest, I think. I think I'm going to go ahead and pop the hood off. Make for better lighting. I can't really see what I'm doing under there. Got me a homemade hood prop. This ought to work pretty good. There we go. Yeah. Now that I got the hood propped up, I should be able to pop the spring off. Maybe. There we go. I don't know why my back hurts all the time. She looks kind of mean with the hood off. Look at it. If I was still in high school, I would just throw a bunch of chrome on it from AutoZone and just run it around with the hood off and think I'm the coolest kid in town. That's funny. Anyway, right now I need to get it back in the shop, but I wanted to show y'all it is definitely cleaning up a lot better. Look over here, we can actually see some of that blue engine paint. I couldn't see any of that before. The cross member's looking much better too, so let's get it back inside where we can get a little more work done on it. I think it's just about time to start throwing some parts at it, and of course we'll do a little painting in here too. Got a couple brand new fuel filters I want to put on there before I get carried away putting all my parts back in the way. One goes up here, but one is buried way down in there, and I figured while we got all this stuff off, it'd be the time to do it. Yeah, we'll get this one off here right quick. Figured now's the best time to do it. Yeah, this one's a little hard to get to, but there we go. Yeah, this thing is so nasty. Y'all look at this. Oh no. Actually looks like it's got a little bit of water in it. I don't know what's going on there. I'm curious if you could even blow air through it. Let's see. Oh, well, yeah. That was actually surprising. Let's try to cut it open. I'm curious of what it looks like, just for the fun of it. Just about to get it cut open. All right. Yeah, this thing is filthy. Oh, look inside of there. This is why you got to change your filters, man. That is really bad. Look at that. That is just rusty, crusty. It's got all kinds of mess in there. Yeah, that's why I'm so surprised that it was actually Could blow air through it. This thing is definitely got our money's worth out of that. Wasn't sure if you guys could see it that well, but look at that. That is just all just rusty metal, probably from that old tank, I guess. Let's get this new one on there. That's going to fix us right up. So these usually have a little arrow on it. Ours is pointing this way. That tells you the flow. So we'll put this end on first. And this will go on this end. All right. That takes care of that. We'll get these clamps tightened up. We should be good to go. Got that bottom one taken care of now. Let's do this top one. I'm having a little bit of an issue with the carburetor at the moment. She only wants to run full choke. She'll sit there and idle just fine, but as soon as that choke comes open, that's it. She's over. She won't idle. So I don't know if it sucked up a piece of trash in there, probably. Double check her arrow, make sure the arrow is pointing toward the carburetor. So yeah, I don't know if we sucked up a piece of trash in there or what. Probably should have changed these a while back, but we're just kind of going through the list on this stuff, you know. Definitely going to need all new hoses, new battery cables, battery cable ends, all of that stuff. So I'm just kind of going through it little by little. I want to fire it up. I want to show you guys exactly what I'm talking about. But at the same time, now that we got some nice clean filters, I want to see what the fuel looks like going in there. It should be good. We swapped the tank out. Not sure if you guys remember, but we put a boat tank back there in the trunk. It's aluminum. It's perfectly clean. No rust issues or anything. So our fuel lines and everything should be good because we flushed those out as well. Let's just find out for sure. Now that the fuel lines are dry, we may have to crank on it for a second. So yeah, here we go, man. That's pretty clean to me. Having brand new fuel filters on there has got to be a step in the right direction. So we'll deal with the carburetor later. I think I'm just going to replace it, to be honest. If that's later down the line, we got to get this guy on there. Start off with my wire wheel, just kind of clean off this gasket material. There's not much left. That pressure washer pretty much blew everything off of it. Well, as you can see, after a little bit of cleaning, we can actually see our harmonic balancer, the bottom pulley and everything. I wanted to do that so that, number one, our paint would stick a little better, but also I want to be able to see the timing mark. I couldn't even see it before, but now we can. I'm going to try out some of my new blue paint before I cover some of this up. Let's get an idea what it's going to look like. Oh man. I know this isn't exactly the right color, but it's all I could find. Let's get our new gasket out. Got a little sealer here. We'll use a little bit of it. Make sure none of this leaks. Especially on the bolts, because these bolts like go all the way into the block, and they will leak if you don't put some sealer on them. Something else that'll help you is to take all your bolts and run them on a wire wheel or a bench grinder or something. Clean all the threads out. When I pulled these out, they had a lot of old gasket sealer from the last guy. You'll want to get all that out of there so you can replace it with new stuff. Obviously, new bolts is always the best way to go when doing any of this stuff, but we're going to do it like most people and reuse the old stuff. Just clean it all up first. So yeah, we'll just run a little thin bead of sealer around this, just to help our gasket out a little bit, just in case there's any kind of little imperfections on this cover here. This will help fill it up. I don't like to use a lot of gasket sealer, but sometimes when you're dealing with water, you know, water pumps and things like that, especially bolts that go inside the block, I think you're best to use a little bit. We just won't get super carried away, that's all. We'll go sparingly. Like I said, a thin layer, that's all we need. And don't forget the bolts. Probably go ahead and stick my gasket right here. Well, all right, let's give this a shot. I believe the last bracket went on just like this. You can see there I'm kind of painting as I go, you know, that way I don't get as much overspray on my bracketry. I think before I put my alternator on, I'm gonna wait until I do a little more painting in this area. And before I do that, I wanna replace my thermostat. We got a brand new thermostat and a brand new gasket because why not? Well, that bad boy is in there. There it goes. Doesn't seem to be in too bad a shape, to be honest. That's all right. We got a brand new one going in. As always, you want to scrape off your old gasket. I don't have to tell you guys that. Y'all know all this stuff. Be careful not to let much of it fall down in that hole. And every single bolt I take out of this thing, I hit with the wire wheel. I'm gonna hit the old water neck up with the wire wheel that I got on the angle grinder. Go ahead and clean up the manifold too. Well, hell, y'all, my SD card ran out. I had to go back up to the city to get one of those little chips that go in the camera here and make it where I can record stuff. While I was up there, I drove around, ended up having to go 2 towns over, but I finally found some Chrysler Blue. Yeah, apparently it's the only can in the whole damn county. They only had one, and I got it. I went ahead and did a thing off camera. There you have it. Check it out, man. I already went through, recolored the whole thing. I wasn't going to bore you guys with all of that. But how much better is that from that Ford Blue? I ain't got nothing against Ford Blue, but it does not belong on this old Mopar motor. Hopefully the lighting's good enough. This is why I took the hood off, so you guys can see some of this once I'm done. But I went ahead and did the exhaust manifolds and everything. Check them out. Now we're going to start putting on everything. You know, we got the alternator, the rest of these brackets that need to go on. I've got the water neck already sprayed, ready to go on with a brand new thermostat. I'm going to do that right now. I got another one of these too. I don't like this one. This is like an aftermarket thing. So I found this one in my junk pile, went ahead and sprayed it. She's drying, and that's going to go on in its place. I believe that to be what it would have had from the factory. So I've got my thermostat here. I'm just going to take and put a tiny little dab of gasket sealer. I say a dab, more like 4 dabs. There we go. That's going to hold the thermostat in place. You see how it's got a little recessed area for that to sit in. Wipe off any excess. I don't want any of this excessively on here. I want to keep the mounting surface clean. Now what I'll do is I'll give that just a couple of minute head start, let it kind of sit up for a minute. And that's going to hold that thermostat up in that water neck, because they didn't put the recessed area on the manifold for this to sit down into. So what happens is when you put that on there, it has a tendency to move around. Not a big deal. I mean, easily overcome. But it is something to be mindful of. If this thing moves a little bit and gets over here on this little thin little area, the mounting surface, you'll have this wedged in between this and the manifold, and you don't want that because it'll definitely leak. So this just kind of holds it up in there is all. So I've got my gasket on there, got the sealer on it, we got this held in place. Now we can flip it upside down, look at that, just like Dairy Queen ice cream cone. So anyway, that ought to work out okay, just fine. I'm gonna hand tighten all of this. You don't wanna go very much. on these old water necks. They don't need to be super tight. I don't know exactly what the specs is on this, but yeah, just a little snug ought to be good enough. I think it's time we get our alternator stuck back on. I'm gonna start by putting this wire on. Remember, that was kind of hard to get to once it's on. So we'll take care of that first. Pretty easy. It's got 3 wires going on the back. I think I mentioned that earlier. One of them gets bolted on and then the other 2 just get plugged on. But this one here is a little difficult to get to. Okay. Now let's see, this one up here with the big bolt. Let's go and get that started. Yeah, you see the plugs slip on right there just like that. This one here is kind of, looks like the plastics come loose around it. It's shield, you know? It'll still slide on there, but there like that. Yeah, it slipped back over, so I guess it'll be okay. Now we'll put the bottom bolt in, and then it's time for a fan belt. Got us a brand new hose with hose clamps. That's going to go on to the water pump there. Goes over here to the manifold, hooks on right there. I think I'm putting more time into trying to peel this stupid sticker off of here than I've got into the whole project. Thanks for that, AutoZone. I mean, seriously, what is this? Oh, we're going to have to get something after this. I don't know. Somewhere there's a parts guy just laughing his ass off right now. This is how we're going to do it. Something like this here. This time we put the power steering pump back on. Get our water pump pulley on there. I'm not going to put the fan on right now because it is a nightmare to put this fan on with the radiator in the way, and this radiator has got to come out anyway. It's in pretty bad shape, and we're either going to have it repaired or replaced, one or the other. So we are going to temporarily put this on here so I can still pull it in and out and all that, because this thing's constantly in and out of the shop while we work on other things. So I don't want to disable it, because we would have to unhook our cooler lines for the transmission, you know what I mean? So I don't want to do that right now. Let's test fit our upper radiator hose and make sure that's right. So if I'm going to go back to the store, I want to know exactly what all I need to swap out. That's a fit. I already tested the bottom hose. Where'd it go? It's over here. Here's the brand new bottom hose. I've already tested it a minute ago. It looks like it's going to work fine. So we're good on hoses, bad on belts. Speaking of hoses, it slipped my mind. We're going to need some heater hoses, so I'll be sure to pick those up while we're up there as well, because these are really soft. Let's take this off. We'll put this one on now. It's dry. There we go. That's cool. Yeah, I like that one better for some reason. Maybe because it looked a little goofy having both of these right next to each other, you see? I just didn't like it. So with all that being done, I think the crowning jewel needs to be this guy right here. This is in terrible shape. She looks horrible. I already redid the bottom of it here. She looked pretty nice. So let's give the same treatment to this one right here, and let's get it on there, and I think we'll call it good after that. We'll start off by cleaning it up with the old wire wheel. I suppose we could get carried away and throw on some etch primer or something like that, but I think this will be okay. It's under the hood, out of the way of the weather and all that kind of stuff. All we're really dealing with under there is a little bit of heat, right? A little bit. So anyway, I think this will work. If not, then I will sand it back down and hit it up with some etch primer, then paint it. For those of you who don't know, etch primer just helps paint stick to bare metal, which it doesn't really like to do. So they have special primers just for that. But we're not going to use it because we're cheap. That's why. Let's get this on here and let's turn it the right way finally. Yes, thing's been on here backwards for years. Somebody called me out on it the other day. I know you don't think that goes on there like that, do you? It's just how I got the car, and it's just been how it's just been on there this whole time. When I got this car, I drove it home, I parked it, and it sat for 10 years pretty much untouched. We're just now getting around to messing with this thing, and it's got a lot of weird little stuff like that. Case in point, what do we got going on here? I think we need a wing nut. What do y'all think? So hey, that's just something else for another video and another time. We'll be getting rid of stuff like this. It's junk. That is just the windshield washer reservoir. I could probably find something like that on eBay, or I could just get something out of a salvage yard that'll go there, that'll work fine. So anyway, there you have it, you guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like, share, and subscribe, all that good stuff. YouTube brought it to my attention that only about 66% of you guys watching are actually subscribed. So go check it out, man. Push the button. It's free. Hit the notification bell. It really does help the channel, and it tells YouTube that we're doing something good over here that people are actually interested in, and then they start recommending the video. Getting YouTube to recommend your video is a big deal. So you guys hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, throw in a comment, even if it's just a thumbs up in the comment section, a smiley face, whatever, man. It all counts as a comment, and it tells YouTube we're doing something. Let's get it out there. I've got quite a few people coming at me. They want to throw parts at me for me to do commercials for them, and I'm trying to avoid that. I don't want to do the YouTube commercials. I just don't. So we're relying on you guys only, man, and y'all are coming through. You're doing good, man. You're doing your part. So just keep watching. I do appreciate it.